Welcome to the Sports Spectrum Podcast, where faith and sports collide. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
And welcome everyone to the Sports Spectrum Podcast. My name is Jason Romano. This is episode number 12, an NBA Finals preview edition, and we're excited today to be joined by a friend of mine. I've known him for about the last 6 or 7 years when he first made a trip to ESPN back when I was working there in 2010, and he did the car wash, and he's been a longtime NBA player. He just finished his 10th season. This is Jared Dudley, the Phoenix Suns forward. He was drafted in the first round in 2007 by the Charlotte Bobcats, 22nd overall pick. He played in the Western Conference Finals in 2010 with the Phoenix Suns before losing to the Lakers in 6 games. He's played with some amazing players: Steve Nash, Grant Hill, Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, the Greek Freak in Milwaukee, John Wall, Bradley Beal, and even Devin Booker, the youngster with Phoenix now, who dropped 70 points in a game earlier this season at Boston. Jared Dudley of the Phoenix Suns joins us here on the Sports Spectrum Podcast. Jared, how are you?
Doing good, man. It's been a long off season so far, but making my rounds in media and enjoying my family.
Yeah, I see you everywhere. FS1, my old stomping grounds at ESPN. It's been great, man. This has become like an annual thing for you to make sure you get your media in. And dude, it's like getting the reps as you set up for whatever your next career is, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is what I envisioned early on. It was, I was a lot younger, and they always say start early while you're in the NBA of thinking about life after basketball. And to be honest with you, it's something I just enjoy. It's something that people don't understand how difficult it can be. And that when you have the earpiece in your ear and you're listening to the producers and you're talking, it's something that for me to get better and better, you got to do it each year and take it real serious. But it's something that I'm really contemplating possibly going into after basketball.
Well, if they keep asking you, you just got to keep saying yes, right? That's the kind of the way I look at it. You must
For
be doing something
sure.
right if they keep asking you back.
For sure. For sure.
Absolutely. Now,
No.
you signed a 3-year deal, Jared, with Phoenix in July of last year, 2016. Returned to a place you played for 5 years, from 2008 to 2013. When we met, you were sort of in the middle of that in your first stint with Phoenix. Now you return, you're sort of the veteran, and you got a young team, a lot of young players, especially young superstars like Devin Booker and those guys. What was this past season like for you?
Ups and down, in the sense of love coming back here, bought a home, closer to family in San Diego. Knew my role was going to be more of a leadership, vocal leader, and also as much as my contract is for basketball, a lot of it is outside of basketball when it's just teaching these young kids how to be a pro, on the buses, the conversations you have on the planes, and something that trying to groom these young kids to get these kids ready for 2 to 3 years. But let's be honest, man. Anytime you're in your job and when it comes to sports and you're losing a lot, it can always be tough and frustrating. And then not playing, it was the first time in my career where they wanted to go real young early in the season. It was like around December where I didn't play for a month
Right.
when I was healthy. But you know what? I understood that it wasn't, and my whole thing was it made me even get even closer to the rookies even more and try to help them out even more. And that's why I'm here. I'm not here to battle with these young guys and fight over playing time. It's for me to be a helping hand to them.
Yeah, who was that guy for you when you were young, coming up in the NBA? You were drafted by Charlotte, the old Bobcats, back in the 2007 NBA draft. I can't believe you're 10 seasons in now, Jared. That's crazy. But you were in that Kevin Durant, Greg Oden draft, and just wondering for you, who were those guys, those young guys, or those veterans, I should say, that kind of served as a mentor for you when you were first coming up?
Well, first it was obviously Jason Richardson. I was with him in Charlotte. We actually got traded to Phoenix together, spent some years, and he was I think a year, like around my career right now, like 9, 10 when I first started playing with him, and he was just a good veteran. Took me out, went shopping, we hung out, dinners and everything, and then it transitioned to Grant Hill and Steve Nash, mostly Grant Hill, just because we hung out a little bit more, but 3 great people to learn from, all successful, all true professionals and have great reputations around the league. And that's one thing, man. Not only in basketball, but in life, that it's huge. Is your reputation, and I really take that serious.
So you mentioned the trade. You were traded from the Bobcats in December of 2008. You're literally there in Charlotte for a year and a half, and suddenly you're on the Phoenix Suns. What is that like for a young player like yourself when you went through a trade that quickly in your career?
Excitement for me just because I was playing for the Bobcats, even though I was playing a lot at this time, my second year in the league. But you got traded to the Phoenix Suns, and at this time, the Phoenix Suns were one of the hot teams. They had Shaq, they had Amari. It was the West Coast. Steve Nash was. Everyone knew if you went to if you went to go play for the Suns and Steve Nash, he got everyone paid. That was
Mm-hmm.
his huge reputation. So for me, to be able to play with him and be out there and be closer and you're on TV literally every week, that team. So for me, it was easy. I got the phone call during my nap time, getting ready for a game. So I'd just been traded. And, I remember Rod Higgins told me to get my running shoes on. I'm going to Phoenix. And I remember, texting all my teammates. I got traded, me and Jay Rich, and we all came out in the hallway and, they said their goodbyes. And, people were mad because we were a young team at that time that, that we got traded.
Right. Now, after playing, you lived in Phoenix for 6 years, played there, and then you played on three teams in 3 years. You were with the Clippers, Milwaukee with the Bucks, and then Washington with the Wizards. Is that NBA lifestyle something you can ever get used to? What was that like, just going team to team to team every year?
You know what? It was actually kind of a cool experience because, I just feel like when it comes to overalls in general, when I got traded to the Clippers, I thought it'd be the best thing for me for my
Hmm.
career going back home in San Diego. And as you know, as in basketball, as in faith, sometimes it's not always like that. Sometimes you don't judge a book by its cover. You never know how what door is going to be open, what's going to close, or what door is going to be open for you the next time. And it actually wasn't a great situation for me and my family. My wife didn't even like it there, and her mom and sister lived 45 to an hour minutes away, and we go to Milwaukee, where eh, you know people thought that would be the worst thing for you. I
Hmm.
thought it was gonna be the worst thing for me. It ended up being the best thing. So God works in mysterious ways when it comes to that.
Why
But
was it the
me and
best thing, Jared? Why was it the
best
best
thing
thing?
because it helped me to where I'm at now in my career. Where the reason why it was the best is because that year when I got treated there, they were the worst team in the NBA. They were worse than Philadelphia Sixers, who were trying to lose,
Right.
and and then literally me and a couple other veterans came in. We made the playoffs, so we really went from very rare when you're one of the worst, not to first like NFL, but it was very similar, worse in the worst record to the playoffs. It was like the third biggest jump in wins in
Hmm.
like NBA history or top five or something like that. So we do that, and then I get the reputation of, hey, Jared's good with young players, and that's what you have to. That's what people don't understand. It's like you want to be able to sign with every team, and be able to. And people don't realize the teams that have a lot of the money are the younger teams because the older teams have the max guys and stars. And they sign them. So for me, it opened up my reputation to be able to get back to Phoenix, which is now the youngest team in the NBA. And I had this similar situation in Milwaukee, so it was perfect in terms of that. And then family wise, it's super cold, negative 30 degrees. So you're inside more, you're doing more family stuff. And I thought my wife, and my kids grow closer. And then going to DC, great experience. Playing with John Wall, missed the playoffs by one game, but I live downtown the city. All the museums and zoos are free. You're going through, or we're walking everywhere. Great time in DC, and then now coming basically back home to Phoenix, man. It all, like I said before, God works in mysterious ways and kind of circle back around. And now coming back home has been perfect.
Wow, such a great attitude to have too, by looking at it as a positive and saying, you know what, I would have never gotten these experiences if it didn't happen. Because I know a lot of people, I just think like the normal person. And I know you're an NBA player, so it's hard to think like that. But it's like the normal average person who's moving from city to city, year to year. I got to imagine that's tough. But man, you embraced that.
Yeah, and yeah, you have to. I've always been that person. You look at the, the cup half full instead of half empty. And my whole thing, let's just be honest. At the end of the day, you're in that city for 7 months, sometimes eight, depending on how good you are, and then you get to go home. So I'm here in Phoenix. You get at least 3, 4 months. So whatever situation, even if it's not the best situation for you, it's only a limited time. You'll have a chance to get out. But for me, all those teams, I actually never demand a trade. It's just you just let it flow. You work hard, you do what you're supposed to do, and usually once you believe in your faith, you just know and you pray that God puts you in the right position.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're talking to Jared Dudley, Phoenix Suns forward here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. All right, let's talk about the NBA Finals. They start in a couple days. Warriors and Cavaliers. I'm calling it the 3 match. I don't know if anybody else has ever said that, but that's what I've been calling it for the last month. So let's look at each club a bit here, Jared. Jared, we got the Golden State Warriors. You faced them 4 times this season. They bring in Kevin Durant. They go from a big 3 to a big 4. Let's just hear your thoughts quickly on the Warriors.
I mean, pretty flawless when it comes to NBA team. So much firepower, most firepower in the NBA can be a close game to down 20 within a matter of minutes. Underrated defensive team where they just switch all pick and rolls and make you have to play one-on-one basketball. A team we all expected to be here. Adding Kevin Durant just made him more lethal when it comes to spacing because you can't really leave anyone open. He's picked his defense up. They've been the favorites all year, and I expect this to be a fun, entertaining series.
Now, Golden State, they were awesome this year with the Big Four. You played now 10 seasons. Are they the best team that you faced in the 10 years you played? And if not, who is?
That's a great question. This is what I really believe. I believe I believe they'll go down, especially if they're winning this one of the best. But that Lakers team, when I lost to, they won the championship when they had Gasol, who was basically in his prime, Kobe in his prime. Bynum wasn't quite in his prime, but was very good. Lamar Odom was a 6 man off the bench.
Mm.
He was good. Artest came that one year. Derek Fisher. So that might have been the other team that I would put up there with them. Obviously, the records are the same, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard to go against this Warrior team, to be honest with you. So it's close. It's definitely close. LeBron probably had one of his years, but I'll put the Warriors slightly ahead of that Laker team.
Okay. Now, how about let's go over to the other side in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Just some thoughts on the Cavs.
Man, I mean, you could tell the Cavs had up and down season, but if you had the definition of flip the switch, you'd have the Cleveland Cavaliers because literally people talked about it, and it's true. I mean, it's a different team in the postseason. They've been locked in defensively better, offensively better, more in the rhythm. They've cut down the rotation. The more days in between are helping LeBron. It just seems like LeBron's on a mission, and that's why I'm so intrigued because the way the Warriors play defense, they switch a lot of ball screens and make you play one-on-one. Well, the Cavs have no problem playing one-on-one because they have two of the best one-on-one players in the NBA, and then they have elite three-point shooting around the arc, and then they have one Pitbull and Tristan Thompson that go gets all the rebounds. So the games that they are missing, he's getting a third of these offensive rebounds and giving them extra opportunities. And this is the one team that all along I thought had the best chance because obviously they did the year before. But when you have LeBron play at such a high level that he's been playing, and Kyrie, you add a Corver and Darren Williams who are going to be key in this series. I really don't know what to expect, but anything less than a game 7 would be it would not meet my expectations.
So are you allowed to make a prediction? Can you make a prediction? Who wins?
You know what? I predicted the Warriors before the season, before the playoffs, but I won't even lie. The way LeBron's played, I'm scared of it. I am. Even if they do win, even if the Cleveland did win, I would tip my hat. But I'm picking the Warriors just because of Kevin Durant. I just feel like with that home court advantage, I'm gonna say the Warriors in 7.
Okay, I like Golden State as well, so we're equal there. We're talking to Jared Dudley here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. You mentioned LeBron. You faced him pretty much your entire career. He came in before you got to the NBA. And when you first came in the league, it was 2007. LeBron was just coming off his first NBA Finals. He was 23 years old. He's becoming this great player. Kobe's there as well, and some others, some elite players. Now he's won 3 NBA titles. He's playing in his 7th Finals. Just give us a glimpse here for people who are listening. What makes LeBron so good, and obviously you've had to guard him, so difficult to defend?
I think just what makes him so good has been his dedication to not only his body but to his mind when it comes to film. learning the game, thinking in an unselfish manner, and yet being a star. He's the most unselfish NBA star in NBA history, and that's saying a lot because you have someone like Magic Johnson, John Stockton, Steve Nash, but his unselfishness goes beyond just basketball. It goes in the locker room. It goes off the floor. They hang out. When, for entertainment value, he's just always about the team. He embraces the team, and every year he's gotten better at certain things. And, and the biggest thing from him is his consistency. He hasn't dropped. He's year 14. He already has all these miles and this. Arguably, you could say this is his best season since maybe one year in Miami might have been maybe a little bit better, but he's more confident. I think just winning that championship last year in Cleveland, the weight of his shoulders is off. That was like the big thing that, would have haunted him, and he did it in his second year. And now he's just saying, hey, all this extra is just free money. And you can just tell the way he's shooting the ball, the way he's attacking the basket. He's even shooting free throws better, man. So when it comes to LeBron, man, he's kind of the most complete basketball player that I've ever seen play the game of basketball, and it's a true joy. I mean, I think we crucify him and do all this because the whole chosen one come out of high school, King James, but overall he's lived up to hype. He's kind of like our Derek Jeter. He's super professional. He talks politics. He gets into everything, and you can tell he thinks before he talks.
He's an amazing player to watch from afar, I can tell you that. Now, my brother, Chris Romano, is a huge Lakers fan, and him and I were talking today about Kobe and LeBron. The debate has been a lot about LeBron and Jordan. I think we'll just put that aside for a minute and trust that Michael Jordan is still the best ever. But from a standpoint of Kobe and LeBron, you played against them both in their primes. Where has Kobe, or I should say, has LeBron passed Kobe on your all-time list?
He he has by beating that 73 win Golden State team.
Mm,
Before last year, he did not. But beating that team, that arguably could have been one of the greatest, no, the greatest team in NBA history. And it's hard to say because you have the Celtics and Bulls, but the record and by the average of margin, they were blowing people out.
yeah.
Steph Curry's year Steph Curry had a better year than LeBron that year. He was the face of the NBA for that one season. It was the stuff that he was doing was ridiculous. We've never seen it before. The shooting and the accuracy off the dribble from range. He broke the record from amount of threes made. I think he broke his own record. I mean, like overall, I mean,
Yeah.
or yeah, I'm not even sure, but like it was just phenomenal. And for LeBron to do what he did, the chase down block, the game 7 triple double, like that to me put him in there. I think that Kobe's debate, they're both different. I think the only thing that hurts Kobe somewhat a little bit, and it shouldn't, is they'll say on 3 of those championships he was the second best player,
Mm.
and LeBron's never had to. Even when LeBron did team up, play with D Wade, play with Bosh. I mean, yes, those are 2 other great players, both Hall of Famers. Most likely, if Bosh, I know he has a heart condition, but he'll probably most likely get in. But overall, I mean, LeBron was clear cut the best player. It was his team. If he didn't perform and when he didn't play in games, they struggled. And that's not the case when it came to Kobe. And Shaq was so dominant back then. So I think they just give it to LeBron because of that last season.
Where's LeBron on your all-time list?
LeBron, for me personally, is number 2.
Okay.
He's behind that. I have it here personally. Now, that being said, is when it comes to most accomplished, he wouldn't be. But overall, uh, uh, if we were starting our own team, we were all a GM, and I had to pick a player who I would want. Jordan would be my first pick, and not saying that LeBron. To me, LeBron is better all around than Jordan when it comes to top. If you compared everything overall,
Right.
but there, but the certain highlights that I want of someone clutch, which they're not saying LeBron is not clutch, but how Jordan was and the fear factor he put in people, and you knew it was time. I add more value to that, and obviously winning, he knew how to win. He was a better free throw shooter when it comes to clutch time, and even defensively in his prime, I thought was better than Braun. So he'd be one, but just what LeBron does, man, and making everyone better and still scoring 30 and all how it is, he would be number 2 past a lot of these other all-time greats.
I mean, number 2 is not so bad. I mean, that's
Oh, for sure.
for what we were talking about and dogging this guy in 2010 when he decided to do the decision and go to Miami, and now to be where he is just fascinating and amazing, really, to watch. I wish more people, just fans, because you see it on Twitter and social media. You and I are both there, but I wish more people would appreciate his greatness. He truly is an amazing player to watch, and we're watching a guy in his prime. So I hope more people can appreciate his greatness.
I think they will once he either slips and comes down to like normal. I mean, right now he's like he's like a monster and an alien. He's not even of this world.
Right.
And once we it's kind of with Kobe. When Kobe his last couple of years he was injured and he's this. It's like okay, so like man, I remember the Kobe days. And then he gave us that last glimpse, that last game when he went off to score. I think it was like 60 in his last game or something like that.
Yeah.
And overall, we just look back on it like man, like if you talk to Laker fans, they miss those days. And we'll be like that with Bron where man, like once someone else goes to the finals and it's this team goes and that team, like, man, remember Braun? He was there 7 straight, or 3 years now could be 10 straight, and I think that we'll realize like, man, we're not going to see another player like Braun probably ever.
I could not agree more. We're talking to Jared Dudley, Phoenix Suns forward. Jared, let's switch gears a little bit. This is a faith and sports podcast, and I know you don't probably do a lot of interviews like this where you're asked about your faith, so I want to talk about that. You and I, when we met back at ESPN 6-7 years ago, we connected, I think, on a different level because of your faith. I want you to just share with our audience, where your walk with Christ really began.
Well, it became with a single parent household. My mom, who was raised Catholic, went to church every Sunday. Found a great church in San Diego called by the name of Horizon, which is actually the high school I went to, 10 years after, going there as a kid. But a great pastor, Miles McPherson, where I went to, they had a little children daycare. My mom went to the service, and Miles is actually a youth pastor for my brother. And, if anyone has ever heard about McPherson, is a big time pastor where he used to play for the Chargers and now turned pastor. So overall, going there in that church and hearing the gospel, and then eventually just giving my life over to the Lord in those classes where you can say that prayer and you want Jesus to come in your life and your soul and your body and take over and walk through him and do everything for him. And for me, it's always been like that, just growing up with it. It was natural. It's something I love to do. I love going to church and, I loved hanging out. And then once I got even more connected with pastors, the older I've gotten, it's been huge for me to try to keep me on the path because I'm definitely flawed. I definitely get off the train tracks left and right, but the key is to get right back on, keep going straight. And in high school, I went to Horizon, like I said. It was a Christian school. It was known for their basketball. That was the main reason why I went there. But like you said, sometimes you go to something having this perception, and then when you get there, man, it was more than basketball. Yes, it was a Christian school. We had Bible class. We had chapels Mondays and Fridays. And it was something that, like, man, you know, some kids it got on their nerves and then it grew on them and then they liked it and then you asked questions. So that's when I started getting more knowledge about the Bible and you knew like we used to for our tests, if you knew the week's Bible verse, you should get extra credit. So they wanted people to learn, and stuff like that. And it was just cool. And then through that 4 years and getting that prepared me for life after high school, going to college, playing in the NBA, trying to keep my faith and having that foundation, which I think is so crucial. Where let's just be real, man. Let's be real, man. We live in a crazy world.
Yep.
And if you turn on Sports Center, from the Trump, from just shootings,
Yeah.
from a lot of stuff that goes on here, man. That that you got to have your faith, and if not, and even with your faith, you can still be ridiculed, and you have to be able to hold your ground.
Is there a time in your walk with Christ that you kind of, I don't want to say walked away, but where you struggled the most and you kind of had this moment where you had to come back to him, whether it was in college at BC, Boston College, or when you were in the NBA, maybe early in your career? Was there ever a time when your faith was truly tested?
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, and even now it's tested even more. And let's just be honest. I mean, the devil, he wants to tear down the good people. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, that's his intention. So, the more successful, more stuff you have. So, at BC, at my highest stake, and going through a situation with, losing friends, losing a girlfriend at the time, and going through a crazy situation where I just feel like everyone was trying to tear me down, so trying to separate myself from everyone. And
Mm.
I kind of acted, I didn't act like myself. I was such an outgoing guy, and I kind of went like zero dark 30, where I didn't want to be involved with anyone. I just wanted to, just play ball and get out of there. And then obviously going in, the NBA, where you're thrown, everything's thrown at you so fast, where women, drinking, clubs,
Yeah.
going, it's a crazy lifestyle. And then like in school, or as an athlete, I'm always been on someone where you got to have, your day to day. What are you doing? My routine. Your routine is crucial. When are you going to go to church? Because I really didn't go to church that much in college. Because for one, no one's telling you. It was a Jesuit school.
Yeah.
There wasn't. I didn't even have a car, so it was easy to not go. You might have had games. You might be tired, tests, and then getting back in the pros, getting back into it. When I went back home in the summertime, getting back in that routine. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, you will always fight that battle, to the end, and that's why you got to have surround yourself by the right people.
Interesting. We're talking to Jared Dudley here. Just a couple more minutes with you, Jared. One thing I want to do, and I think that's awesome that your story and your faith and your testimony is there, and I pray that you continue to to be strong in the Lord and to be a great witness for Him in the NBA as long as you're playing. I want to do a little rapid fire, so go back on the court a little bit with you. What I'm gonna do here. I have some current and former NBA players, and I'm just gonna name, and I want you in one sentence. So instead of doing one word, because I think one word is hard, just one sentence to describe each player that I name. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. We'll start with Stephen Curry.
The best shooter God ever created.
That's easy enough. How about Devin Booker?
Devin Booker, potential star whose work ethic will pay off.
Okay. By the way, side note, he scored 70 points against the Celtics. You ever seen anything
I
like that
know.
before?
Never, never. And I was a part of it too. I was just kept giving him the ball, man. It
Yes.
was a phenomenal night.
It was unbelievable. I'm a Celtics fan, and I was cheering him on. It was crazy. How about James Harden?
The most unique superstar. His game with the Euro step and getting fouls has changed the NBA, and I think we'll have a rule change in that 3 point rule of people getting fouled because of him. The most unique superstar in the league.
John Wall.
Underappreciated, underrated, and coming into his own.
Allen Iverson.
Uh, Swag. Uh, uh, he was the iconic of hip hop and basketball, and everyone's favorite player growing up because how little and how brave and strong he was.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, the hardest player I've ever had to guard, where 6'11" can handle, can shoot, can make free throws. Real no weakness, and I know people say it's strength, but to be that tall and long and athletic and be able to handle and shoot the ball, I personally have never seen anything like it.
Larry Bird.
Legend, icon, um, gave players like myself hope that you could not be the prototypical athlete and still be a star and still be an elite NBA player. And we all, myself included, looked up to him.
Steve Nash.
Man, Steve Nash. I mean, whew, so much for this one. For me, it's I
You can
feel
go
like
longer than
for
one
me,
sentence with Steve if
yeah,
you want.
I feel like for me, I owe him everything. He taught me how to be a pro. He taught me. He helped me get my first deal. The most unselfish player I've ever played with. He gave high fives even when I messed up. A friend, someone I always look for advice, but definitely someone who is a true pro and my best teammate I've ever played with.
Magic Johnson.
The smile. When I think about Magic, I think about the smile. I think about there's no one that enjoyed playing the game as much as Magic to me. It was like, the Brett Favre of, them two, just their joy and how it was, man. I'm glad he got the opportunity to be GM of his team, the Lakers.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Best European player ever to play the game. Um, the fadeaway shot, the one step fadeaway back shot. He has his own shot. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the hook. Jordan had the fadeaway. He has the one step back. I'm gonna miss him when he's gone. And man, yeah, best European ever.
Another guy I think we won't truly appreciate until he's done playing. We got three more here. Okay, Jared. Russell Westbrook.
Animal, beast. Has a little Allen Iverson in him. The most athletic athlete, I'm going to say, in sports history. And I know that's very
Wow.
extreme. It's very extreme, and I think that a football player, hockey players, if they saw him up close, his speed, jumping, vertical length, and how he plays, I've never seen any, including LeBron. And people don't understand when you play live and you see him and he's going 100 miles an hour. To me, the most explosive athlete in sports history, and that's saying a lot. And there's probably a lot of people debate that. Some people will say Jordan. There's probably a football player named Randy Moss, and it's not just one thing, Russell. If we had to measure everything, I believe if he's not one, then he'd be at least top 3 or 4.
I mean, listen, we can't argue with you. You played against him. You've seen it up
Yeah,
close, so you know.
yeah, but yeah. Some people might say other sports. You know, you have a track. You got, this because I'm saying on all sports. Like when you come in basketball,
Yeah.
he's for sure top 2 or 3. But he's that one athlete that I can compare. We in the NBA we have a couple of those guys. LeBron's like that. He was like that. Derrick Rose was like that back in the day before his injury. There's certain players that just in an athletic sport that makes everyone else seem unathletic.
It's freakish. His season that he did this
sure.
year was just freakish. It was insane.
For sure.
All right, two more. Shaquille O'Neal, your former teammate.
Funniest team I ever played with. Love keeping the locker room funny. The biggest man I ever saw. he was a big kid and enjoyed like magic, playing the game and having fun, and a true icon for our game.
Now, I'm side noting here. I'm sorry I'm doing this, but can you give me a good Shaq story? I mean, you played with the guy. Is there a good Shaq story that you can share with us?
I've got tons, man. Here we go. Let's just see. This is the first one. Here's the try to think of some funny ones. So Shaq would always pick on Louis Amundsen because Lou Amundsen used to ride his bike every day to the practice. So one day Shaq took his bike while he was at practice and like had the tools and like basically broke it down in like 40 pieces. So he couldn't ride his bike. He told him, drive your car. So Lou Amundsen, while Shaq's at practice, gets those little things that you put in when you're moving, those little pink things that you put in, the boxes to make sure, nothing breaks.
Yes.
Lou Amundsen fills his whole car up in it, his whole van. So Shaq says, okay, listen here, I'm going to get in there. I'm cutting his ponytail off. You guys gonna hold him down. It took 10 of us to hold Lou Amundsen for Shaq to cut his ponytail because he was such a big kid. I said, Shaq, why are we doing this when you're the one that messed with this guy's bike? But he was so big, it was crazy. Another thing Shaq liked to do, and I don't know why he liked to do this, but every day he would come in, he used to pick on the trainers. So what Shaq would do, he'd come in, he would take all his clothes off and run around and chase these trainers through the training room and the weight room butt naked. People, it's not funny, but if you were there, it was hilarious to see someone 7'1", 350 or running around butt naked trying to catch these guys. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that is tremendous. We should have just spent a half hour talking about Shaq. That's so great.
I know.
Awesome. Well, let me give you one more name and then we'll close it out here on the final question. So the icon, the number one, Michael Jordan.
The greatest. He actually drafted me in the Bobcats. I actually have a good relationship with Michael. To me, he made basketball fun. And the reason why he did that, it started a lot of when Space Jam, when you had something to look at, he was bigger than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about Mike is he's flawless, and yet he was still flawed. You saw his struggles in baseball. You saw his struggles in gambling. But yet, when it came down to it, when the pressure was the biggest, when the stage was at its highest, and all eyes were on Michael, that's when he rose above everyone. And that, to me, is why he's the greatest over LeBron and all these other ones, because there's people have maybe won more championships, but when everything was at its peak, everything's at the highest, he was the most successful, and we value that more than ever. And I'm just glad to have had to be able to play basketball and had conversations with him, man.
Yeah.
Mike, yes.
He's a legend. He's a legend. Listen, I'm the biggest Larry Bird fan you'll ever meet. He's my sports hero, but even I can say it. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time for sure. All right, final question, Jared. I asked this to all of our guests on the podcast. It's a little deep, but it's a simple question at the same time. What is God teaching you right now?
For me, he teaches me a couple things. I would say right now, for one, is patience. When you have kids that are young like mine, and it's key where, to be the right dad, to be the right husband, and sometimes it's being patient and listening. And that's one thing in this society, we always want to rush. Social media, food, we want it now. And sometimes it's being patient when it comes to your faith, being patient when it comes to your family. And so for me, that's a huge thing, because let's just be honest, us basketball players and pro athletes, we're spoiled. I'll be the first one to tell people. I mean, we get it, most of the stuff we get it right when we want it. And sometimes it doesn't work like that, and other factors. And so for me, patience, and it's something that it's a struggle sometimes. And especially, with your kids, and I have 3. 7, 5, 3, and you got to think about that when they're all running around here, and you're dealing with a lot of stuff, not only family, but we all have family issues, and if it comes to the cousins or that. So, and also when I'm trying to reach out to God and listen to Him, being patient to hear His voice when it's on His time, because a lot of people want it on their time, but we're not on our time, we're on His time. So for me, it's patience.
That's great. Jared Dudley, he's got Golden State beating Cleveland in 7 games, just finished his 10th season in the NBA, and I'm happy and proud to call him a friend. Jared Dudley of the Phoenix Suns, thank you so much for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
And that was Jared Dudley. We do appreciate his time here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Phoenix Suns forward, 10 years in the NBA. He's not the best player. He's not the worst player, but he is a solid NBA player, and he's also going to be a heck of an analyst when he's done playing. He's really good, and he takes you in places that you don't get a lot from NBA players. Really deep, sort of thoughtful, and I just paints a picture and tells a story and a description in a way that just tells me this guy is going to be an NBA analyst when he's finished playing. So thank you, Jared Dudley. I'm excited for the NBA Finals. They start on Thursday night, and it's June 1st, so that should be a lot of fun. I have Golden State. I actually have them winning in 5. Jared Dudley has them winning in 7 games. I think Golden State's going to win in 5 games. It's hard for me to bet against LeBron James, but Golden State, I just think they're loaded. They're stacked, and they got the home court advantage. I think that's big this year for them, and I like Golden State a lot. As long as nothing crazy happens, no suspensions or any injuries, I think Golden State takes this series in 5 games over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. As always, we do appreciate your feedback, all of the compliments, the advice, just the thoughts on different guests that we've had. All the nice notes on Twitter have been great to see. Please leave a review. If you go to iTunes and there's an area where it says leave a review, if you could do that, that would be awesome. We're taking all your reviews and compiling them and just really trying to think of something really cool to do to kind of reward the listeners for leaving a review, giving back. So just please do if you could. It would help to get the word out. Tell people, go on Twitter, let them know, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, let them know about the Sports Spectrum podcast. And listen, the goal with this podcast in all its entirety is to bring God the glory, is to make His name known through the lands and through this podcast and the stories and the guests that we have. Episode 13 comes your way in a couple days. Our guest is going to be the author, best-selling author and world-renowned speaker, John Gordon. That is going to be an awesome interview. I can't wait for you to hear that. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jason Romano. We'll see you next time.